Thank you for coming here today. Thank you for coming yesterday. As you can see, the air controllers, the Belgian air controllers, decided to make it a bit erratic yesterday. So we didn't pay them. So, but they tried to put a little touch of unexpected in our presentation. But I think it all went well. Some of you have enjoyed the hospitality, the Brussels hospitality, and I hope that you all recuperated well in the hotel, and then we are ready for a pretty interesting, I hope, interesting day. Now, what I discovered yesterday by talking to a few of you is that some of you were not familiar with Alterface. And so you didn't know exactly who we were, so we'll make a little recap. And also I want to tell, for some people ask me, will Laurent speak today? I says, yes, she will. Okay, so you just need to stick with me a couple of minutes and then I promise you will talk. So, about us, quickly. So we are, sorry for the people that know us already, we've been founded in 2001. Originally, we are from this region, frankly. We are just, the original company was a spin-off from the University of Louvain-la-Neuve, which is just 1 or 2 kilometers away. Since then, we have been trying a lot of stuff for many, many years, but we're extremely resilient. And since 2013, since 2008, we started working on a project that really brought us to what we are today. And with a lot of different places, and that's where we are today in the world. Of course, we have the headquarters, we put it in Brussels. Actually, we are not in Brussels, but that's where we stand. We have an office now in Miami, in Florida, to be close to the biggies. And we have 2 offices in Asia, one in Singapore, just recently founded, so it's a very recent development, and one in Beijing. And so we mean to be a worldwide player. We are having really operation a bit everywhere. We are obviously very active in the interactive dark rides. I hope you all know what a dark ride is, but we have installed 68 dark rides to date. Since 2001 actually, but it's really the dark ride started in 2008. So we are by far the largest interactive dark ride supplier, technology supplier in the world. In value, we are not the biggest because we do a lot of technology provision, so we don't only provide turnkey projects, but it means that you can really see a lot of our technology, and basically you will hear a lot more people telling that they have a dark ride from Alterface than from other vendors. In 2018 alone, we've installed 12 dark rides. So just to give you, it's almost 1 dark ride a month, which is kind of interesting. We got a brilliant year last year. So we installed the dark ride, which is called Basilesk in Poland, and it's this. We are not bragging, the bragging type of people, but we probably got the dark ride that was the most awarded dark ride ever. We have got about all the prizes that you could get. We left really prizes for no one else, basically. So that's brilliant. We are very proud of that, and we'll try to. We are very motivated to have more of these in the future. Obviously, we don't care too much about the price at the end, because that counts. Everybody will forget about those prizes, those awards, but we will not. We will see the people, the visitors of the park, and those are the ones that are interesting us. So we try to work not for the parks, for the people going to the parks. So just to finish the quick presentation, where can you find our rides? You can see, the world map is always interesting because Europe seems so small, and then we have a lot of rides in Europe. And actually, we are based in Europe, but when you look at this map, it looks like we're big in America, which is the case, but we are even bigger in Europe. And then we have an interesting approach, an interesting foothold in the Middle East and in Asia. We have about rides on all continents if we accept Africa. So that's the only, terra incognita for us. But okay, we're working with it. Okay, so a company is made of founding moments, I'm calling. So we have, you know, in the life of a company, you see there are elements. You say, okay, we have a stick in the ground. That's where it's going. And the first founding moment of Alterface was in 2001, and that's what's called Europe Emotion. And Europe Emotion was actually the first product we ever did, and it's what we call a magic mirror. So we were using a camera, filming. You can see the young lad that is jumping and actually injecting his image into the screen. That was our product. So we started with this. We sold quite a few of them, but we discovered that it was not really something that would bring us to, you know, becoming a sustainable and sustainable business and a profitable business, especially. So we had to look for other ideas. And the second founding moment that we got in the life of the company was what Desperado, the first interactive theater. We were the inventor of the interactive theater, and this title is still playing in many parks around the world. So it's a 2D shooting gallery. It's as simple as it can get. It has been copied over and over. You can see a lot with moving seats, with you know, various systems to shoot at. But basically, this was the original one. We sold a few, you know, something like between 35 and 40 of them. Before becoming ourselves less interested in our own product. This is a little disease of the company, so we wanted to do more. And so we had to go for the third founding moment of the company, which is Mousse Chocolat. So Mousse Chocolat is the first media-based dark ride, full media-based dark ride, if we accept, of course, this name. So you can see that it looks pretty similar to Toy Story Mania, but there is a big difference. There is a big difference because there is a story. So the fun part is in Toy Story Mania, there is story, but there is actually in the ride, there is no story. Where in your case, it's Mousse Chocolat, there's a lot of food stuff, but there is a real story, so if you listen, you can get from one scene to another, and there is a reason why you go from one scene to another, there is a logic. And so that's what makes this ride different, and not a copy of Disney. Also, this ride is operating with 3 vehicles, instead of 2 vehicles from Toy Story Mania, so actually we beat Toy Story Mania in terms of throughput, which is always nice. You know, it doesn't help, it doesn't make any difference, but then it's always good for a little motivation. So I'll let you watch this. I mean, it was in 2011, and 9 years, almost 9 seasons after, 8 seasons after, it's still top attraction in the park, which is telling a lot about media-based attraction and the future of media-based attraction. It is not true that media-based attractions are not aging well. That's not true. And you have the living evidence of that here. Now, another founding moment, well, that's today. At least that's how we see it. And I hope you will agree with us. Coco Revenge is something different. That we put really a lot of efforts in developing. It's the result of a lot of converging elements in the company, and we will go through them also. This is really, I believe, one element that we will look in the future and say, oh, you remember that moment we were in this kind of a room, and we were looking at this ride, and that was the beginning of a new era of rides, because I believe there is potential for that. So, what is special about the erratic? Well, let's look, if you go into the typology of dark rides. You have the linear dark ride, which is typically the ride, the one you can see almost everywhere. It goes from one station to another. It's like a train, and it goes, you know, all the time, the same station, the same sequence, the same timing, etc. So it's consistent, that's the beauty of it, but it's always the same. Then there has been some creativity on that, and this creativity you can find like in Mystic Manor, in Disney Hong Kong, or you can have it in Efteling for Symbolica, where you have actually, it's like multiple trains. So the analogy is simple, you have 2 trains or 3 trains in different tracks, and sometimes, well, they are crossing each other and then they are moving. But basically, the idea, the story is more or less the same and more or less predictable. That's what we call multilinear. And the innovation of the erratic is that we get into the nonlinear. And that's how it becomes. So to go from one place to another, you can go to many different in many different ways, many different tracks. So that's a big difference. No, this doesn't mean, I mean, we call it erratic because this is a name that is fun, that is sounding interesting for the people, but actually it's not erratic at all. Because what counts is the experience. And what counts is make sure that we don't have this. Because that's basically what could become. If we don't do it right, this is, you know. I mean, this will sound familiar for the ones, you know, traveling to Asia. It's actually a good day. So we don't want this. So if you do an erratic without having the know-how and what it takes to do it, that's what you get as a result. So that's the reason why, in order to make the erratic, well, we had to go for a new way of developing the ride. So you cannot put on a piece of paper and say, I'm going from one station to another station to another station, because it's impossible. There's a moment that there are too many possibilities. So you need to start working with a simulator. And the simulator needs to tell you all the potential tracks. And then from the simulator, you need to extract the path that are making sense. The path that will create a pleasant experience for the people. And that's what was one of the big challenge and one of the big specificity of the erratic ride, is that you really need to prepare this ride and to kind of almost have it working on a computer before actually starting building it. So that's one element that is very important about the erratic ride. The second element is whatever your, I mean, this is a little spoiler, I mean, so you might see this scene a bit later on today. What you have in there is that it looks like a pretty standard scene. I mean, this looks like a simple shootout. I mean, you can shoot at different corners that you have. Now, there is what we call Easter eggs. So basically, if you do a sequence of shoots, if you reach a certain series of characters, then you will have another character appearing. So not only you will not know where you're going, we will know, but I mean, you will not know. And B, what you will do might depend on what you actually, you know, are doing without sometimes knowing you have done it. So we have, it's a very complex and interesting way, but I mean, it gives a sense of richness to the ride, and I hope you will think the same way as I do. And then the second element that is very specific to the erratic ride is it's a compact ride. 500 square meter, 510 persons per hour. And it can accommodate the most terrible environment you imagine. You can have pillars, you can have weird dead ends, you know, you can have all the stuff that makes a place not suitable for a dark ride because of the erratic approach, because of this, I'm pushing people in one corner, I'm taking them back, and I'm making them do other stuff. Well, it makes it possible to do something from this. So you can think about, for instance, shopping malls, you know, like an old building, you know. It's possible, you can have an old building with pillars and everything and use that as a dark ride. Actually, we could put one here. And who knows? And then this is really something that is very special. So to sum up, and I think it's better for you to see it from your own eyes, but I mean, the key point is that first you have the choreographic part, and you will see this very important part of the ride. And it's you to all those tracks, you know, crossing each other and etc. The variation in the scenes, so that you know you feel that it's changing all the time, and then the high capacity. Those are the three different elements of the dark ride, which we believe that is that's the reason why we believe this is a founding moment, because this is the first time really we can get that in the same at the same time. Now, this is a double founding moment today, because the second element is that the people that know us, this is our existing building. And we went for a bold move. I mean, this is a private joke. This is the building. And when you look at this building, it looks anything like a company doing amusement. You know? I mean, you could sell pipes, you can do a lot of stuff, you know, it looks so boring. But that's where we stand today. And we were really, for a long time, says we need to move, we need to move, we need to move. And then you have people all over. I mean, you have, you know, we had to build small cubicle and people need to stay there. They've been invading my office. I mean, so basically, there was a moment we had to go. And so, we were looking for a sexy place. And so I wouldn't say that we've been looking at a postcard. I mean, this is really a postcard type of building we wanted to have. And so we found this brilliant stuff. And this is actually where we stand today. So this building was actually, there was activity in this place since the 16th century. In the beginning of 1800s, you know, looking at the 19th century, they've been building a paper mill here. And actually where you stand here is the paper mill, the original paper mill. So it has been operating, it has been bombarded during the Second World War, destroyed heavily. It has been used as a bottle blower, you know, plastic bottle injection company. And now we will turning it back into its original glory. I mean, not as big as that, and we forget about the chimney, but we will do something different. And also we will make it something more modern and more capable of having some creative activities. And this is how we envision the, well, not us, the architect or designers, but went with this. So you can see the building will be quite different, quite natural, quite, you know, it will remain with the soul of a very old building. It will remain with the roots of what people were doing here, which is very important to be able to do a good creative work, is that you need to be grounded in a certain history, and I believe this is what we can get there. And from this office, actually we will have all the operations of Alterface. So today we have the technology, the division, the activity, which is actually the part of the company that is providing interactivity for all the rights you have seen today. We have the creative division. This creative division is the one doing the turnkey projects. This is the division that is behind the Popcorn Revenge. This is the division that is behind the Polish Basilisk ride. This is the division that is behind the Jardin d'Acclimatation in Paris. And I hope it will be behind a lot of new projects, and we have a lot of interesting discussions going on. Then we have the lab. The lab is actually the part of the company that was behind the simulator for the Erratic Ride. And the lab has a specialty, or is building a know-how and a competence in designing quick proof of concept solutions for a customer. Like, for instance, you have a concept, you want to do a dark ride, or you want to do a ride, an interactive ride using a technology, but you don't know if it's going to work. You don't know if the gameplay is going to please the people. You don't know what the result you're going to get. You talk to those guys, and those guys in a couple of months, they will ask for money, okay? But I mean, in a couple of months, they will design a proof of concept. You can test it. If you like it, then you can go on with us or with other people. Doesn't matter. But at least you have a way to prove. I mean, we don't want ride to be failures. I mean, we have seen so many rides in the market sometimes that the idea seems great. Probably the people, they were sitting around of a table and says, looks great, you know, people will do this or people will do that, and it will be so fun, you know. And at the end of the day, it's, you know, nobody find it funny and it's a disaster. We want to avoid this because every time this happens, then it means the whole industry is taking a hit. And we don't want this to happen anymore, and that's the reason why we bring our little contribution, and this is really what is the activity of the lab. And the last element, and that's where you don't need to wait too long to listen to Laurence now, is that we go for the IP. So, we have a lot of activity around IPs with outside IPs. You know, we've been working with Justice League, with our friends from Sally. We've been working in Plants vs. Zombie in America. We've done that on ourselves. We've been working on Smurf, Lucky League, Warner Bros., you name it. Really a lot of them. But it was time also to go for our own little invention, our own little creation. And that's pass the word to Laurent to talk about those little guys.
our puppies. Yeah. So do you hear me, or would you like me to take a microphone? Okay. So let's tell about the story of the puppies. So it started a few years ago. We had the idea to make the popcorn village. And the idea is that the popcorn are alive. In fact, you don't know, but they are there since here. And they are very, very hungry because they never see the end of the movie. You eat them before they can see the end. And they are always in the darkness of the movie room. Nobody knows they are there, and they want to be the star. So, based on our experience, we start to make the characters of this story, and we decided it should be a popcorn pot because the target should be 20 or 30 centimeters high. So we start to make the drawings, and it was looking like this. But we were not very happy of the result because it's a relaunch of the popcorn and not the popcorn pot. So we start to make it in another way. We made some popcorn with arms and legs. And it was really funny because you can play with the balls all over the popcorn and you can imagine a lot of characters. But the way we've made it, with legs and arms like human, and it was not really nice because you don't want to eat a popcorn that looks like human and you don't want to shoot on humans. So we tried to make the drawings and we said we have to take all the legs and the arm away, and we've made another drawing. So we've made this with no arm, with no legs, and I was still not very happy with the result because it looked more like foam. It's very complicated in the shape, and we started making new drawings, and what we found that was interesting was to play with very big eyes like this, and maybe we should start with this kind of shape with small legs, so small arms, and very big foam shape over there. But it was still too complicated, so I asked the one who was making the drawings to make very simple eyes with sphere to transform a ratio of these characters to make something with very simple lines so that you could see the shadow of the popcorn and still recognize the character. So we move again. We try to make drawings and drawings and drawings. And suddenly something appears, and this was this character, this kind of news, with a very big eyes and looking very angry. And at this step of the creation, one character appeared, the dog of Benoit, that you can see the picture over there. And suddenly Benoit told me, that's it, I want your character to be like my dog. Sorry Benoit, with nothing in the brain and totally stupid, but so cute. So we say, okay, the popcorn is not behaving like human, he is really more stupid, and will be more or less like an animal. But we decide not to go for the dog, but to go for a monkey. Everyone knows Mowgli, you know the movie with King Louis, who wants to be like a human but couldn't make it. It's the same for us, the puppies, they want to be the star. They want to make movies, but at the end it's totally wrong. They can't make it. Everything that they make is really better than one. But the characters start to have very long arms, like monkey, and very small legs. And the way we could make the animation of the characters was looking really close to monkeys. So here are the characters we finally decided to go with. It was this kind of nose with two teeth, and we were quite happy. We start to test it on small kids and children. We start to show it to the customer. And at the end, it appears that they were not so happy with it. It was too frightening for the kids. These things was made to make it more realistic, like popcorn, but it was like thickness on the skin. I don't know, it was not really good. So we have simplified the characters, deciding, okay, you have the seeds of the corn, you have the very long arm like the monkeys, and everything that pops out of the characters is white. And finally, we found the two main characters of the popcorn revenge. And then we start to build the backstory of it, and we start to make the story. And we just start to play here is the character. So you have the science fiction scene, and maybe you can recognize some of them. With the pirates, with the cable and everything. It was so funny to play with the props and make all the characters for each movie scene. It was really funny to make it with the creative team. We draw the superhero, of course. And finally, we've made one bonus character that you will never see in the attraction, but you will see in the goodies. It's a unicorn because it was so cute and so funny to make it that we decided to go for. And actually, we can't stop making new puppies because it's so funny to play with them that we still go for new characters. Yes.
Okay, so just to give you an idea, the process of creating the popcorn character took us 6 years. So it's not working non-stop, obviously, but 6 years. I mean, we started really, the first customer we have been pitching on the popcorn revenge was in 2013. So it is a long process. Not that we are not creative. I believe we are very creative. I think we are very demanding. I mean, there have been a lot of prizes during this process, and people say, you know, very strong words, and some places you need to accept this, and no, okay, maybe, you know, this kind of stuff. But basically, we kept on pushing, and I think we have something that makes a lot of sense today, and that will evolve over the future. No, so sometimes the parks they want to have their rides. They have a limited budget. We know that there is a glass ceiling for a dark ride. You know, you cannot go for. You know, Disney can afford paying 80 million for a dark ride. I mean, a regular park cannot go for that level. So they have, basically the glass ceiling is really easily reached. And if you want to include in your budget the development of an IP, a specific IP, then obviously you're burning your money way too fast. So that's the reason why we've been coming with the popcorn, is to tell customers, listen, this is a character. I mean, Popcorn Revenge is the first story of the popcorns. There will be other stories. But also you can rely on something that is solid, that is proven, and that will be invested in. So that's an important element to reduce the cost of producing a dark ride. This is really what is very important. We want the dark ride to be everywhere. We don't want the dark ride to be limited to the very big parks. So that's one of the reasons we created the popcorn character. The second element of this license is that it's making even more interesting for the parks to go for it, because you can buy the equipment on one hand. Our business model is simple. You can buy the equipment on one hand, you take the license, which is extremely reasonably priced, and then we offer you the possibility to buy merchandising. And so we are now, this merchandising was designed by Walibi, but we are producing also our own line of merchandising, and basically so that people can make money out of the characters right away. They don't need to start thinking about how to do it. You know, it's a big nightmare to do merchandising, by the way. It's a huge work. It doesn't look like it. And so basically, the idea is that some parks are asking sometimes to have revenue share. You know, like they don't pay the ride, but they're sharing the revenue. This is something which is impossible to do with high technology rides. But what we can do is to make sure that the customer gets income as they go, and they go for a very reasonably priced installation, and then have some revenue coming from it. So the merchandise is extremely important, and that will be one of the key elements, I believe, that will do the success of the ride in the future. I was just last week in Shenzhen, just visiting a couple of companies active in the production of merchandising. Obviously, we have our standards in terms of employee welfare and everything, so there is an audit that we are doing just to make sure that we are not, I don't want young kids to work on the stuff that is pleasing young kids, you know, that doesn't make any sense. But we will come with a very big range of that, and over the year it will grow. So that's basically the three pillars of the Popcorn Revenge. So it's an IP that you can buy from other rides, it's an IP that you can use in the Erratic ride, and it's an IP that you can make money on as you go. So that it's really easy for people to work with and to really switch to a media-based dark ride and an Erratic ride, hopefully. Okay, so just to finish, I don't want to kill all the stuff. Just some fun facts and figures. The ride is 3.4 minutes long. Now, from the initial Feedback we've got from visitors, some were finding it a bit too short. That's a good news, sorry for them. It means that they were not bored. I mean, the worst you can have is it's too long, you know, so not long enough is okay. Now, by the way, 3.4 minutes is about the average time of an interactive ride. You know, Justice League is around that one, and so basically, that's the size of it. Longer, people will start to be tired, and that's good. There are about 1,000 popcorns to shoot. The track length, if we have to talk about track length, it's a little bit of a weird concept here because you don't know exactly what will be the track length you're going to be experiencing because it's erratic. It's about 100 gig. The throughput is 510 persons per hour, and by the way, it's from the very first day we have been sustaining this throughput consistently. So because the erratic enables you to really keep the throughput because of the way we synchronize the ride all the time. So it's a big added value, is that if one vehicle is blocked or is a bit slowed down, the rest of the ride keeps on working, which is not the case in the linear ride. So this is one added benefit of the erratic, or at least of the non-linear. You have 42 shading device, I mean 7 vehicles. Well, you have you know, like a 9 projector, so it's a it's right on a budget. But I think when you will see it, you will see that the money is where people can see the result, and that's what's really one of the most important things. So that's about it for my my presentation. So the best thing to do is to sit, obviously. Now we'll do a quick question and answer if you want here, so that to ask when everybody is around. If you have questions, then you can ask. I mean, Stefan can come over to answer some technical questions. Laurence will be happy to stay in the neighborhood to answer some questions about the art direction. And then we will move to Walibi, and then we'll keep on going. Now, it will be, the day will, I mean, you have a lot of time to ask questions. I mean, as you know, we will have a dinner, a party, a special party tonight. That will be also nice to see, and you can ask questions if you don't feel too at ease to ask a question in front of everybody. So, just shoot.
I was just wondering how much you're recommending operators charge per player?
The operators?
Yeah, how much they charge per...
It's included, it's a one ticket. So it's not priced.
Are you like considering setting places that might charge per person? How much would you
it could operate this way. It's something that we are not too familiar with because it's really more like we call that small parts could do that. We have a couple of theaters that are working like this, and usually they are charging something. You know, it's a very minimal price, like 2-3 euro. What is interesting here, and that's the first outcome we got from the initial days of operations, is the merchandising is financing the ride. So actually, they had ordered, they made the plush, and they ordered the container, and while the container was on the sea, they had to ask and to order quick air freight plush because actually they were really selling out. So I believe the profitability of the ride maybe lays into the induced business. Any other question? Martin.
So, can you talk a little bit more about how your performance in the ride will impact things that happen later? You kind of mentioned that in terms of Easter eggs, but can you explain a little bit more what that means?
I think it's almost an immediate reward. So, but I'm sorry, I need you to see it. So I wish I could tell you. I mean, first, I don't know all of them. They're hiding that from me. But basically, you'll see that if you do a certain sequence, and you will get to see this, basically, then you get, of course, rewards. Now, just for information, I mean, when I start playing it, I'm just talking about my experience, but I was scoring about 100,000. Now I can make about 190, 200. The best player is scoring 500. So there must be something that I don't get. Yet.
Saw on the screens and the posters outside, there's lots of recognisable Hull ET.
Yeah.
How does that work with the the right ones.
Okay, so basically the one you see here are the rejected ones.
Okay, right.
So they're the ones which are really the rebels, you know, like the ones we have been a little too far with. And basically we are doing our own self-control, so we haven't been asked to do anything. But we're very careful about making sure that that is not a copy. It's actually, again, you need to think about a popcorn. You are a popcorn. You try to become a character. You are miserably failing. So it's impossible that you look like it. But okay, so basically we must get rid of like Darth Vader and the lightsaber. That's the kind of stuff we won't touch. So we did it for the fun, but then as I said, maybe, you know.
We won't see that in the final product.
Yeah, but I mean, basically we have been checking them with a lawyer, and they say, okay, no, that's okay, that's okay. I mean, we are safe on that because again, they are not sufficiently recognizable. It's like a caricature, you know. It's like, you know, this is an inspiration, but again, not a copy. We got a lot of interest from Chinese people who says, that's a good idea. You know, don't. Any other question?
Sorry.
Good, thank you.
And I suppose this will all be very clear in like the next couple hours. Is it just the path that changes from time to time, or does the content change too?
The content doesn't change. I mean, you will still go, in each room you have one content. There is a project to maybe switch content as we go. But at the moment, let's be very clear. This is the number one. You know, it's the first of its kind. And actually, the beauty of this ride is that actually we finished the installation. When was it? On the. And the next day almost, because there has been some stuff that didn't go as planned on the building side. And so basically we enter the soft opening just almost, I would imagine, the next morning kind of, you know? So you are here looking at a ride that has been operating on a soft opening for 2 weeks. And you know, we are ironing out some details. So at the moment we still are in the original concept of having one room, one content. Now the movement of the vehicles are varied. There is, I won't say how many, but there are a series of movements. There are a series of elements that are changing around the ride while you're playing, so it makes that the context become different. And also some movements of the vehicles are free, are not controlled. So I won't say which movements are not, again, otherwise I would kill the concept. But basically you have a lot of elements which are more random than others and some which are defined. Up to you to find which one are defined or not.
And is it the case that each player sees every room every time, or do you have to come back a second time to see more content? Or?
You may need to come twice, 3 times, or 4 times just to see it. Now, actually, again, in the small stuff, the small survey they did during the soft opening, a guy was feedbacking his comment, and he was complaining about a bug. You know, we were the first day of opening, something like that, and or the first days, sorry, and he had run it 22 times. So, I mean, I was a bit shocked that he was not giving us a 10 on 10, because a guy that really does something 22 times and something that is not fully satisfactory, I mean, I want to talk to him, really, because it's not done for this world. But you might need to play it a couple of times. No, actually, it's an interesting concept, because you might say, what the heck of investing into one room that nobody will see, or that you won't get to see. But it's true if you are really on the budget. But the beauty here again is that the popcorn is an IP that is actually, it's some sort of a crowdfunding. You know, we are using all the parks that are, you know, and we are enriching the IP for everybody. So it's a very interesting approach that we are not really acting as like a Fox or something like that. We are some sort of a co-creating element that the parks are actually, when they're selling the IP of popcorn, is actually benefiting the IP of popcorn and benefiting the park. Or you want to go and see it?
Yeah.
I think yeah. All right, then we'll go for the next phase. It's okay.
There's usually something that makes sense, like a gas.
Put on.
Or a kite.
Très bien que c'est une question on peut probablement les refaire cycler après, on les trouver après arrêter ça va ça a l'air d'être dans l'ensemble.
Can you all come a bit closer together, please?
The brain of the ride, so mainly electrical cabinets for the all the subsystems, so lighting, ride system, audio, and this is the brain. So a bunch of computers taking care of the cameras, taking care of the projectors, and taking care of the show control. So yeah, that's it. The brain.